It started as one of those harmless evenings. A few glasses of wine, some old friends, and a game that should have stayed lighthearted. Let's play Truth or Dare, Couples Edition. Claire's best friend, Hannah, announced, her grin wide and mischievous. Everyone chuckled. The rules were simple. One truth, one dare, nothing too serious. Claire was already tipsy, glowing under the dim kitchen lights. She had that laugh, loud, carefree, the kind that made heads turn. I used to love that sound. Lately, it just reminded me how distant she'd become. When her turn came, Hannah leaned forward and asked, "If you couldn't marry Ryan, who would you have married instead?" Claire laughed, glanced at me and said, "Easy. I'd marry my ex, Ben." The laughter that followed was louder than the question itself. Even Claire smirked, swirling her wine. "What?" she said, noticing my expression. "It's just a game." I smiled back, the kind of smile that hides a cut. But inside, something cracked open. The rest of the night went on, filled with jokes and music, but my mind didn't leave that moment. The way she said it so easily, like the thought had been sitting right there, ready to jump out. When the last guest left, Claire was clearing the glasses, humming some tune. I leaned against the counter and asked, "So, you'd marry Ben, huh?" She looked over her shoulder, half smiling. "Oh, come on, Ryan. Don't tell me you're jealous." "Not jealous," I said. "Just curious." She shrugged. "Ben was fun, spontaneous. You're stable. Different kinds of love, I guess." That word, different. It lingered in the air like smoke. Later that night, when she fell asleep, I sat on the couch scrolling through old photos. The two of us on our wedding day, her eyes lit up like she was sure. Back then, I didn't question her laughter. It was mine to protect. But lately, she'd been distant, always texting late, smiling at messages she didn't share, saying she was catching up with old friends. I wanted to believe it was nothing. I really did. The next morning, while making coffee, I asked, "You still talk to Ben?" She hesitated. "Sometimes. Just messages. Nothing serious." I nodded. "Cool. I might grab lunch with Lauren next week." Her eyes lifted immediately. "Your ex?" "Yeah, she's fun. Spontaneous," I said, echoing her words. She froze. "Don't be petty, Ryan. I'm just being honest," I replied. "Different kinds of love, right?" She rolled her eyes and walked away. But something had shifted. The air between us wasn't just tense, it was charged. For the next few days, she grew more defensive. She hid her phone, left the room to take calls, and smiled at texts she wouldn't explain. So I stopped asking. I stopped checking. I just started preparing. A week later, I told her I was going on a short work trip. She barely looked up. "Okay, when will you be back?" "Friday night," I said. But I didn't go anywhere. That night, I parked a few streets away from the apartment, lights off, engine quiet. I waited. It was past 9 when a car pulled into the driveway. Ben stepped out. He looked exactly like his pictures. Confident, careless, wearing that stupid smirk I'd seen once in Claire's old college photos. He didn't even knock. He just entered. And then the lights went dim inside. I didn't need to see more. My chest felt heavy but calm. A calm that comes when pain turns into clarity. By the next morning, I had a plan. When I got home the next evening, Claire was sitting at the table, hair tied back, sipping coffee like nothing had happened. "How was the trip?" she asked, not looking up. "Quiet," I said. "How was your night?" She blinked once, then smiled faintly. "Fine. Just watched a movie." I nodded slowly, studying her. She couldn't hold my gaze for more than a second. Her hands fidgeted with the cup. She was lying, not even skillfully, just lazily, like she assumed I'd never challenge her. For a while, I didn't. I went through the motions, work, dinner, sleep. But inside, I was done pretending. She wanted freedom, adventure, passion, whatever that meant. And I was tired of being the stable, boring constant in her life. So I gave her what she wanted. One Saturday morning, I woke early and made breakfast. Pancakes, strawberries, the whole thing. She looked surprised but pleased. "This is nice," she said softly. I smiled. I thought we could talk. About what? Us. She tensed a little but nodded. I took a breath. You once said you'd marry your ex if you could. Her face changed, that flash of regret you can't fake. Ryan, I didn't mean. I raised a hand. It's okay. You should. She blinked. What? I leaned forward, steady and calm. You should marry him. You'll get to try. The silence that followed was heavy. She laughed, uncertain. That's not funny. I'm not joking, Claire. I spoke to Ben. Her color drained. You what? He's available, I said simply. And honestly, I think you two deserve each other. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. I stood, walked to the counter, and slid an envelope toward her. Divorce papers. I already signed them. She stared at the papers like they were written in another language. You can't be serious. I was serious when I married you, I said quietly. You weren't. She started crying, and for a moment I almost faltered. But then I remembered the sight of her living room lights dimming, the shadow of Ben's jacket hanging on our chair. That memory was enough to steady my hand. You think this will make you feel better? She whispered. No, I said, but it'll make things fair. She followed me to the door, her voice shaking. Please, Ryan, don't do this. I made a mistake. I turned, meeting her eyes one last time. No, Claire. You made a choice. When the door closed behind me, the sound felt final, like the last chapter of a book I'd been reading too long. The days that followed were oddly peaceful. I moved into a small apartment near the river, the kind of place where silence didn't hurt anymore. People talk about heartbreak like it's chaos, but for me it was clarity. I learned that peace isn't the absence of pain. It's the absence of pretending. Claire called a few times, left long messages about regret, therapy, second chances. I never called back. Then one evening, she showed up at my door. She looked smaller somehow, like the world had been teaching her lessons she didn't want. I can't marry him, she said. I know, I replied. I don't love him, she whispered. I love you. For a moment, I almost believed her. But love without respect isn't love. It's nostalgia. You laughed when you said it, remember? I said softly. That night, you laughed. She looked away, tears slipping down her cheeks. I didn't know what I had. I nodded. Now you do. She stood there for another second, as if hoping I'd change my mind. But I didn't. She walked away quietly, her figure fading into the soft glow of the streetlight. I closed the door, took a deep breath, and smiled for the first time in months. Sometimes letting go isn't losing. Sometimes it's the only way to win.